With WWE's recent run of good form since the Royal Rumble on Raw, but not SmackDown, or pay-per-views, speculation was rife that with Vince upping his responsibilities over at the XFL, and with Paul Heyman more in control of the Monday night show, things were picking up for the Red brand. However, this week's show was a little bit of a misnomer, with the beginning and end of the show being pretty good, but with a lot of not great stuff in the middle. Well, now there's apparently a reason for that. While Vince has been missing for many Raw episodes in recent times, he was very much present for this week's episode, and not only that, he was not happy with what was scheduled for the show, and tore up the script, forcing a rewrite, according to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio. Now, Vince tearing up scripts and forcing rewrites of shows is nothing new. However, it has been much less frequent in recent months, especially for Raw. Alvarez would say, "I don't know everything that happened on Monday, but I do know that this guy showed up and he changed everything again. Apparently, it was worse than usual, and if you watch the show was worse than usual." Coincidentally, this was the show that also saw Ricochet get beaten by Riddick Moss, which is just such a coincidence considering Vince McMahon has also reportedly given up on him as a talent, and he was seen as a Paul Heyman guy. Crazy. The ending segment featuring Randy Orton and Beth Phoenix was still influenced heavily by Paul Heyman and reportedly influenced heavily by Edge and Orton themselves, according to WrestlingNews.co, but the rest of the show succumbed to the whims of Mr. McMahon once again, which, again, included Ricochet being beaten by Riddick Moss and Eric Rowan revealing his pet was a spider. At least it wasn't Hornswoggle, I guess. It's becoming clearer and clearer that true change in WWE won't take place until Vince no longer has any influence on the company, which most likely won't be until he physically can't anymore. But even then, he still might. Somehow. Speaking of persistently holding onto something despite all the signs saying that you shouldn't, despite WWE's best efforts of global localization, one market that has eluded them for a while now is the big wrestling hub of Japan. Rumors of an NXT Japan have been bubbling for what seems like years now, but nothing has ever come to light, partially due to Japanese promotions turning down WWE and siding with others. WWE had the mindset of purchasing a pre-existing promotion and turning it into NXT Japan, utilizing some established talent over there instead of coming in from scratch, as most top talent in Japan are already signed to a promotion. However, the deals they've attempted to strike with these promotions have all ended fruitlessly. Stardom was recently purchased by New Japan parent company Bushiroad, Pro Wrestling Noah weren't interested and were bought by DDT Pro parent company Cyber Agent, and attempts to purchase Dragon Gate also ended poorly for WWE. However, there may be one promotion that could strike a deal with WWE still: All Japan Pro Wrestling. Yahoo Japan is reporting that All Japan coach Jun Akiyama has been invited to be a guest coach at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando in May, and will continue meetings with Triple H. And yes, I did say continue, because as it turns out, according to this report, executives from both companies have been meeting secretly since last summer. The sneaky devils. This could very well be another step for WWE into setting up NXT Japan, if they can agree on the purchase of All Japan. Now, you can criticize WWE for many things, but you can't question their persistence when it comes to dominating the wrestling market. Now, before we get into the NXT and AEW recaps, we just wanted to say a massive thank you to all the support shown for our awesome new series, No Rolls Barred, over on Parts Unknown. We just hit 50 Patreon backers for the series, which means we can now release it in podcast form, so you can catch No Rolls Barred on the go. If you haven't watched it yet, head on over there and check it out. It'll be worth your time, and of course, you can support the series on Patreon too for 48 hours early access. Our next goal at 100 backers is to get a real wrestler on for the next series, which will be awesome. So go watch No Rolls Barred. Do it. Next episode on Sunday. Go watch the first episode now. Well, not now. After this video, but watch it soon. And now over to Laurie for the NXT recap. Hot tag.
Before we get on with the rest of the show, we just need to thank the Kessel Run DX Solo for their support on Patreon. Team Kick's annual Cage Conference goes tits up. Johnny Gargano answers the question why with the word Why? But angrier. And Velveteen Dream's master plan leaves him cavorting with Goldie. Daddy Ciampa is going to have something to say about that, and then slowly come to grudgingly respect the newfound relationship and make a surprisingly heartfelt speech at their wedding. The show opened with the aforementioned caged kickathon between Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox. Both absolutely rose to the challenge of delivering a hot show opener and a grisly spectacle with choke slams from the top rope, a cross body off the top of the cage, and one of the most inventive cage match finishes I've seen in a very long time. Because Nox knocks down Kai and goes to climb out, but she's confronted by the imposing figure of Raquel Gonzalez, who goes on to try to drag Kai out of the door. Slam goes the door on Kai's leg when it's kicked by Tegan, but Gonzalez pins the door frame against Nox, holding her against the cage and allowing Kota to crawl out. Amazing. Finn is then playing Candy Crush on the iPad again and chatting about chess. Bala Kasparov says that Walter has made the first moves, but he won't like his reaction. We then get a hype package for Rhea Ripley's Tortuga Mania match with Charlotte as she takes a tour of the stadium and inspects the poop deck. It is heartwarming stuff and cements Ripley as one to watch in WWE. Shotzi Blackheart then came out in a little Panzer to face Chelsea Green, but tanked in a very quick qualifier for the ladder match at TakeOver Tampa Bay. I'm not exactly sure why Shotzi had to take the bullet here after her brief back and forth with Baszler, and that win against Deonna Purrazzo really put her over and made her hot with the crowd, because comparatively, it's Green who was sank like a stone. A Robert Stone brand. It still makes no sense. Keith Lee makes an appearance to address the NXT faithful, but amongst the baskers there are sharks as Cameron Grimes comes out to tease Lee about how long it took him to put away Dominik Dijakovic. Grimes gets molten heat and a chorus of boos for even thinking of stepping up to Lee, but Lee says he can have an equal opportunity ass whooping next week, and the match is booked. The scheduled tag team masterclass kicked off after that as Undisputed Era's Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish fried the feisty Brit-Am brawlers. Now, Danny Burch took the majority of the punishment, building up to a classic Oney Lorcan hot tag full of hot slaps, hard elbows, and chaotic dives. Unfortunately, he managed to eat a high-low, and Wwe are now back in their winning ways. Post-match, they call out the loserweights and the Stallions clop up onto the ramp, saying that they're up for a rematch if the finest stallion of them all, William Regal, will only book it. Only to be jumped by the grizzled young veterans who don't care about horses, they don't care about clauses, they just want to be recognised as the world's #1. Which seemingly did absolutely nothing, because My Regal Pony later books the match between Wwe and the Bruiserweights, and it's happening next week. Austin Theory then managed to squeak out a win over Swerve Scott, which managed to make both men look good, but could have done with more time, frankly. And maybe more build. Mauro Ranallo then sat down with Johnny Gargano to ask the question on everyone's lips. Why, Johnny? Why would you betray Tommaso Ciampa? Johnny says that only Ciampa really knows, and that Ranallo is a liar, calling him Johnny Turncoat. And he's also the first one to say that, oh, Daddy's home, and be really excited. This was a really passionate performance from Gargano, trying to keep his anger in check and not lay hands on Mauro, which completely scared Ranallo off. To close the show, the Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong went at it in a cage for the honour of Marina Shafir. This match had it all. It had high spots like an Olympic slam from the top rope, near falls, and even a peep at Roddy's pooper as Dream grabbed the jeans and the Calvins a little bit too hard, earning some well-deserved and well-spotted asshole chants. Now, with Dream about to hit a huge purple rainmaker from the top, the rest of the Wwe run down to interfere, but Dream manages to fight all of them off, using Roddy as a weapon for most of it, including Adam Cole, who manages to make his way into the cage. They tussle at the doorway, but Dream decides to just let Roddy go, letting him flop out and win the match, so that Dream can turn around, lock himself in the cage, and lay out Adam Cole, standing tall with a title to close the show. This was a return to form for Dream, who's been a little bit sloppy since his comeback, yeah, but this was the perfect match for him to shine, and the swerve at the finish was great. I now want to see Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship so much. So NXT this week was your usual luncheon meat of quality matches and promo work sandwiched between two stellar slices of cage match bread. And the best bit is, it has merely whetted my appetite for more. Now, it's over to Luke for AEW now. I am bloody hungry.
Thanks for that review, Laurie, but it's now time to get elite as I review the 4th of March 2020 edition of AEW Dynamite. Ring that bell and give a shout out to these two awesome SWAF Nation members for their awesome signs. New AEW champion, Gian opened the show this week to dedicate his title win to the fans. Jericho came out to say his group is now a hit squad and said that if he loses the tag match tonight, then he would leave the company for 60 days. This was a solid start to the show. And the solid stuff continued as Dark Order took on SCU and boom boom, Colker burn up, which saw the good guys pick up the win. Uno said the Exalted One will be here soon and heads will roll. Britt Baker was out on commentary to see Big Swole quickly beat Leva Bates, and Cody's awful neck tattoo came out for a promo, asking MJF to look him directly in the eyes and try to convince him that he won at Revolution fair and square. MJF didn't answer though, and instead we got WWE Hall of Famer and walking DDP yoga advert, Jake the Snake Roberts, who looks like Mr. Burns told him to shave those sideburns. And seriously, Jake the Snake Roberts is the living embodiment that DDP Yoga saves lives. It was awesome seeing Roberts in the ring, who showed why he is one of the best talkers this business has ever seen. He told Cody that he's got a new client, and together they will show Cody and his one-trick pony Arn Anderson that what a snake wants, a snake gets. This was awesome. And it's been pointed out online that a lot of what Jake said could point to him managing Brody Lee, which is a fascinating pair-up potential. It could also be Lance Archer, who was announced last week to have signed with AEW. Following on from his wins over Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy, Pac beat Chuck Taylor this week in a really good match with the Brutalizer. Lucha Brothers ran down to attack Best Friends, and Pac announced they are now a trio act called Death Triangle, AEW love groups with shape names. Pac's promo was really cool, and this is a great team of amazing talent. Lucha Brothers haven't really had much to do in AEW since All Out last year, so I'm hoping that this could lead to more TV time for them, because it should always be Pentagon Jr. Speaking of not getting much TV time since All Out, and Shawn Spears is looking for a tag team partner with the hashtag Search for Spears. Jake Hager quickly dispatched of QT Marshall with his rubbish looking submission move. Look, I know it is a legit MMA move, but it's not visually impressive. And in a business where Flash counts for a lot, this is pretty much the opposite of Flash. However, the brilliance of this segment was the post-match, which saw Cody and Matt Jackson try to make the save against Inner Circle when Hangman Page came down to actually make the save. And for a brief moment, he was on the same page as Matt Jackson before he gave him the finger and drank with fans. Adam Page rules, this storyline rules, and I love every single forking thing about it. Speaking of things I forking love, and MJF cut a fabulous promo where he said his I pinned Cody t-shirt was arrogant and regrettable like a neck tattoo. Shots fired. And in the main event, Jon Moxley was set to team with Darby Allin to take on Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, but Inner Circle laid out Moxley before the match, leaving Allin to fight 2-on-1. This was a star-making performance for Darby Allin, who had incredible babyface fire, built brilliantly when he hot-tagged himself to run wild. Sadly, he dived into a Judas Effect elbow for the Inner Circle win. Moxley ran down to make the save, but Inner Circle got the better of him and put him through a table from the top of the stage. So that was this week's AEW Dynamite recap. Why not let me know what you thought by voting the poll above my head using these options on screen? Overall, I thought this was a pretty good edition of Dynamite, with lots of teasers for the coming weeks, good in-ring action, and awesome promo work. I was surprised there wasn't a bigger angle coming off the back of Revolution, especially considering the Matt Hardy YouTube stuff. But still, this was very good and a nice reset as we head into Double or Nothing 2. Check out our predictions for this Sunday's Elimination Chamber by clicking the video on screen right now, and our new D&D Wrestling roleplay series on Parts Unknown, No Rolls Barred, by clicking the other video. I've been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.